I'm Caleb Burns, and this is my student choice speech. The right to bear arms. This is the Second Amendment out of our Constitution. It states that as a citizen of the United States, that you have the right to own a firearm. Just recently, our own government has been taking the steps to abolish this amendment. It is called the right to bear arms for a reason. Owning a firearm is a right, not a privilege. As citizens of the United States, we must protect the Second Amendment so that we can protect ourselves. According to JustFacts.org, there are over 300 million guns in the United States. This means that households are literally littered with guns ranging all across the U.S. If the government were to try to take our guns, it would be extremely difficult just because of the sheer number and also the resistance of the citizens of the United States. Guns are used 2.5 million times a year in self-defense. Law-abiding citizens use guns to defend themselves against criminals as many as 2.5 million times every year, or about 6,850 times a day. This means that each year, firearms are used more than 80 times more often to protect the lives of honest citizens and to take lives. Of the 2.5 million times citizens use their guns to defend themselves every year, the overwhelming majority merely brandish their gun or fire a warning shot to scare off their attackers. Less than 8% of the time, a citizen will kill or wound his or her attacker. So this means that basically most of the time, no one even gets hurt when it involves a stick-up. For example, Vermont is one of the safest 5 states in the country. In Vermont, citizens can carry a firearm without getting any type of permission or paying a fee, or without going through any kind of government-imposed waiting period. And yet, for 10 years in a row, Vermont has remained one of the top 5 safest states in the Union, having 3 times received the Safest State Award. According to gunowners.org, in Orlando, Florida, from 1966 to 1967, the media highly publicized the safety course that was meant to teach women how to use firearms. The result? The rape rate dropped a whopping 88% almost instantly. This dropped so quickly because the criminals realized that the more experience the women had with firearms, the more dangerous it would be to attack them. A good example of what would happen if we banned our firearms would be the same effects of what happened when drugs were banned in the U.S. Now, banning drugs was a good thing, of course, but it led all the criminals to supply them themselves. So basically, if we were to ban all the firearms, the criminals would own all the firearms, and the homeowners would just be left defenseless in case of like a robbery or a break-in or an attack. This would leave us just defenseless in the face of criminals. Concealed carry laws have reduced murder and crime rates in the states that have enacted them. According to a comprehensive study which reviewed crime statistics in every county in the United States from 1977 to 1992, states which have passed concealed carry laws reduced the rate of murder by 8.5%, rape by 5%, aggravated assault by 7%, and robbery by 3%. More guns, less crime. In the decade of the 1990s, the number of guns in this country increased by roughly 40 million, even while the murder rate decreased by almost 40%. Accidental gun deaths in the home also decreased by 40% as well. This statistic is extremely surprising because even with the addition of 40 million weapons into our country, there were less murders in the United States. The most surprising is perhaps Washington, D.C. It has the most restrictive gun control laws in the country, and yet it is frequently called the murder capital of the nation. In the 25 years following the D.C. gun ban, its murder rate has increased by 51%, even while the national rate has decreased 36%. My suggestion to help the gun laws is to strengthen the background checks that are used for when people buy a gun. For example, if you've ever been the culprit of an assault, robbery, or any other type of aggressive crime, you should never be able to own a gun. People that have been involved in such crimes have a much higher chance of producing a violent crime when in the possession of a firearm. These background checks can be conducted by more paperwork or even just an interview to show you what is going on. And all of these facts prove that guns are not the problem, people are.